Hello, everybody. We are here in Bucharest with high-level executives from all over Europe to gather for the 33rd Plenary Assembly of PostEurop with our history of 24 years. So it means that for 2 days this week Bucharest is becoming of the capital, European capital of the postal industry. And thanks for the support of Romanian Post and all the Romanian authorities.
Hello everyone, how is your first feeling in our country?
As a matter of fact, many of us already visited in 2004 the Bucharest for the Congress of the UPU. And we can measure how the country and the city have changed for the better since then. Very lively and dynamic city, and we were happy to see that developing well. This year we have 43 members and 7 represented out of 52, which is a very good number. So many, because we are a member-driven organization, so our members are important. They make the life of the association, and every year we see where we are, where we want to go, and of course we will also deal with issues related to UPU, our mother company in a way. That is, we are a restricted union of the UPU, and we have the great pleasure and honor to have Mr. HUSSEIN, Ambassador HUSSEIN, who is the DG of the UPU.
Mr. Botond, can you be more specific in the topics and objectives of this plenary session?
Yes, so beyond the so-called statutory issues, we deal with European Union related issues, very important ones with special regard to the e-commerce, the growing market, and how the postal sector can react to that in terms of postal delivery skills. There is also a draft regulation on the table of the countries and of the postal operators for this, coming from Brussels. So this is something that is high on our agenda. Another point is to discuss about the reform of UPU, to form a common European position in this regard, as next year there will be an extraordinary Congress in Addis Ababa in September, and this plenary is a very important step to prepare for that in European context. And last but not least, I would also like to mention that we have a business forum dealing with big data. We know what the definition of big data is. We know in general terms what it can mean for the economy, but our intention is to discuss what the postal operators can do by using big data to generate additional business opportunities for e-commerce, but also for other areas.
Do you love it or hate it?
Yes, it's no option actually.
That's it. We have to live with it.
We have to live with it, yes.
And maybe to create better services, because that's
Absolutely.
the idea.
Yes, it's a new channel of service possibility of products for our operators. We understand that postal companies deal with a lot of data. It's one of our unique selling propositions, actually, that we are close to the citizens, close to the businesses, small and medium enterprises, but also to the large accounts. We are a proximity business, so our business, even the traditional business, but also the more modern one, generates a lot of data that we can use. And the question is how we can convert it into daily cash revenue this kind of skill and capability of the postal sector. For example, in the area of direct marketing, but this is just one example.
Well, it's an opportunity to better serve the customers. And respecting the privacy, because some other operators I will not name sometimes do not respect very well the privacy issues when we are attached to that.
So you are preparing yourself for the next step of GDPR that will be established next year. Yes, maybe you, from the UPU perspective, can talk a little bit more about this problem.
Well, thank you very much. My name is HUSSEIN. I'm the Director General of the Universal Postal Union, which is the glue that holds together the 192 different networks of postal organizations in the world. An intergovernmental organization, an agency of United Nations. So that is a very powerful institution that gives us a role and relevance in the communication and also the business of the postal industry. Now, our role is to support the member countries, to support the restricted unions in their endeavors to be able to position themselves as world leaders in the business, to be the best in the class, to come up with standards and rules and procedures and treaties that make it easy for cross-border mail to thrive and grow. So that is my role as a Director General. In simple terms, we provide technical and professional advice, and we also build up the global strategy that is adopted by member countries to help them improve on their businesses. So my role here is normally when restricted unions meet and they have global agendas they're discussing, the UPU is normally invited to give the insight and also to give advice and also information. So I'm here at the courtesy of the invitation of my colleagues here, and we are proud to be in your beautiful country. Thank you.
How are you going to reform UPU, and how can PostEurop support your strategies?
Excellent. Reform is something which is really urgent and necessary. If you recall, last week in United Nations General Assembly today in the UN, which is currently going on, the biggest topic on the agenda is reform of the United Nations itself. I was told that Mr. Trump had assembled nearly 130 countries, and his first agenda is to make sure that we get reform done for the UN. We are a UN organization, or rather a specialist agency of the United Nations. So reform, what is it for? It's not just reforming things for the sake of it. When you reform something, which means you are discarding certain habits and practices which are not serving you, your customers, which are transforming faster than ourselves. We are in a digital world today. The youth, the people who are, the mode of business has changed. They have changed, the youngsters, people today, the world population, 70–80% are below the age of 40. These people are wired to these gadgets. And so that has opened up a horizon, a huge space for us, for them to buy and shop online. So how do we then meet their expectations and the speed with which they want these things done? That is now the challenge for us. So we have to really use the same technologies, go into their mind, go into the purchasing practices and habits, and come up with solutions and give them tailor-made services that meets the expectation. That is why we all get together, put our strategies, and come with really concrete results that can be applied globally by member countries. So this is a big job for us, but it's one which is very exciting, and we believe that we are best in the market.
Okay, let's turn back to the big data subject that we really love and want to see it on the market. From your general overview, because you have great experience and you are focusing on so many countries, how do you see the big data strategies implemented for each particular country? Because we are so very different.
Well, I am not a technical expert on big data myself. I am not, I'm just an administrator and a manager. Perhaps my colleague, who is the Director of Marketing and Strategy here, maybe have better views on this. But basically, what is big data? Big data is the data we have generated out of the traffic we see, the volumes we see, the trends we see in the market, the figures, the statistics that comes out from the economies and business. So all this is what we now process this data, get information, get to see where is the market. Where do you think this will give information and give an informed decision to the leaders who are preparing their strategies on where to identify the markets and provide what services are required. So that is, in a nutshell, I think, my understanding of the big data, but probably my colleague can be able to add some.
I think it's important to understand that the UPU as an intergovernmental organization, and particularly focused on physical goods and digital services, is a repository for a lot of data that's been exchanged between member countries. And by virtue of being a repository of that data, there's an opportunity to actually find the trends in that data. And when you begin to, and that's really what big data is about. It's actually it's not about storing the data, but it's actually analyzing the data and pulling out lessons and insights from the data to inform your decisions. And what the UPU is trying to do, and together with a lot of our stakeholders, is to pull out those insights to inform not only governments in their decision making, but also our very important stakeholder community, our operators in the delivery of their services. So it's a mixed thing. So in the case of the governments, for example, we have developed a tool called the 2IPD, which is basically a postal development indicator. It draws data, macroeconomic and microeconomic data from what we've got to draw important insights as to how governments and their countries are tracking in terms of postal development. And from that, you are able to develop policy prescriptions. And likewise, for the business perspective, we can, through a lot of our scan events and tracking data, actually provide real-time and potentially even future predictions in terms of how deliveries are happening, where things are being stuck, and we call it leg 2, either in customs or in air transportation, and how do we actually deal with these problems. So there is a lot of very useful data, very useful means by which we can actually pull out insights from the data. But I go back to Jean-Paul's point. This data is in many respects personal and confidential data. So there's a very important need to protect privacy, the confidentiality of that information, and particularly where that information, if it's coming from postal operators and business enterprises, it's commercially sensitive. So we've got to create an appropriate regulatory framework within which that data can be exchanged and analyzed.
You think that the postal sector is prepared for the GDPR step?
I think we are. We're taking all the right steps, and we're heading in the right direction. My sense from being party to those discussions is that we are either leading the curve in terms of policy development, or we are amongst the leading group of institutions.
Turning back to the big data, what have you learned from the other industries that are already using big data? What kind of services do you think you can bring on the market?
I think that first, what we've learned about what happens on this market is that you shouldn't mix, everything shouldn't be open data. We have an issue on that. Many of us are state-owned, and people consider that everything which is the data we collect should be open to everybody. And there is a limit to that. Of course, we can share, and we do share many things about postcodes, about many postal issues to open it to competitors and to other stakeholders in the market. But we are not here to give also gifts to competitors. We are also companies. We have our issues on mail declining. We also want to make a little money and include the process in our process to better serve, as I said before, the customers. But we can also sell and offer informations to many applications and other stakeholders who will use it for their own purpose. So there's a triple issue for us to better serve our customers, to get some money from this, all these data which are available, and to bring data to the market so that they are able to build on that.
And I think it's important to mention one thing related to the postal business application of big data, because what we learn from other industries is, who perhaps are a bit more progressed in this regard, that there is a business possibility in using big data. Like my favorite example is Google Maps and the traffic information on that. So technical daily things like that can be very useful also, for example, in terms of the traffic optimization of postal operators. But we also see that though we live in a digitized world and we use data, this part of the postal business, not taking now the mobile telephony or the financial services, but this logistics-based part of the postal business with the mail and parcel is a physical activity. So letter mail and especially parcel cannot be delivered by internet. So it still has to be done physically, and this is the key unique selling proposition of postal operators. And the idea is to bring this digital world into developing our physical activities. And big data, we believe in that, and our business forum will show great examples on this, so we believe that it will be a useful tool for the postal operators.
But we will know more about that at the end of our forum.
That's the idea, that everybody will learn a lot during the business forum,
including us,
and including us as well. And we return to our home countries by knowing more.
But step by step, it seems that the postal industry is becoming a very technological one.
It
and
is.
you are
Yes.
going to be a very key player in all these big things that everybody is talking these days: digital transformation, Internet of Things, smart city. It seems that you are there because you are going to change a lot the services that you are offering to the clients.
Drone delivery, 3D printing, so crowdsourcing.
We try to, but the challenge we have is we have a declining activity on mail, so less. We should find a way of financing, because it needs investment. It's not for free going on the database, and our shareholders, mainly the states in many countries, should be aware of that and give us the possibility to remain good players on this market, because we can bring things that the market will not bring, other operators will not bring, because of our history, of our culture, and of the information we collect.
Do you see any other possible mergers and acquisitions with technical companies that would support you with
Yes,
this
I
business?
was coming to that, yeah. Now, the question is, it goes back a little bit. Technology. Who says, who has the patent right or a monopoly for technology? Nobody. And Post Office has used every single technology that has been developed with the advance of human sciences. So, we use the horses when there are only horses, we use the railways when there are railways, we use the airlines.
Absolutely.
We use faxes when fax came, we use the internet when we are internet.
Pigeons.
Now the drones, we are having drones. Tomorrow we will have
3D printing.
probably Superman,
3D printing,
3D
yes.
print, whatever it is. So technology is not an end by itself. It's a means by which we can be able now to be creative enough to develop services that we use, which can be faster and more efficient. That's the whole purpose of technology. Now coming to the point is, how do you get the technology? The chicken and the egg. Now, I'll tell you one thing. The post office has something which no other industry player has, a thing called trust. And I'm giving you one example. I was told last week in Moscow by the CEO. An old lady in a rural village meets the postman. And she says, Mama, I don't know how to read this letter. He gave her a letter. He says, please read it for me. And she read it, and he opened the envelope and read it for her, and it was a bill. He says she was supposed to pay some bill. Then she just wait a minute. She put into her wallet, got the money, and said, my son, go and please pay it for me, and give the money to the postman. Tell me, which other organization can you have that kind of trust? So this is what the post is. It's like oxygen in the air. We take them for granted. But I can tell you, with the new modernization and the vision that we have of real transformation, the post office is the next big thing. And this is what I can tell you for sure, because I speak from position of knowledge. I have seen many countries that have transformed themselves, but this requires planning, strategy, resources, and also supporting government and other institutions that we deal with. And that's what again, the advantage we have is we have a United Nations seal behind it that gives us credibility. That's the advantage we come with the post.
And many postal operators have been wise enough to decide they would not invent everything. So they are going on the market, living close to the startups, buying some, to be quicker and faster and better connected to this new markets. Because if you try to reinvent everything,
you're right.
Yes.
I miss that point. I miss that point. Madam, mergers and acquisitions, what you are saying, with the technology provider. Yes, we do. What happens here is that, I'll give you a good example of Turkish Post. The Post runs the business, but they have got a private technology company that set up the marketplace, the platform for them. And they share on 50-50 basis, I think. So we have got many private companies coming forward who are trying to invest with the posts where the rules and regulations of the country allow, so that we can have that. So there is a lot of opening up of those kind of mergers, or what you call partnerships, I would say more or less, with the private sector. So we are not really a closed shop, so to speak.
Do you see different strategies for Europe versus United States in this kind of direction?
Well, it's difficult. The problem with the States is that the organization there is really as nowhere anymore in the world. That it's still a federal agency with very strong regulation. I would say it's not politically correct, but monitored by the competitors, who are not very keen to see them going on new markets. And they are really strongly monitored by the Postal Regulatory Agency, and they are trying and really on day-to-day to be more than to develop. But sometimes it's a question about resources as well. And if your shareholder doesn't give you the minimum means to develop on this new sector, you have difficulties. And here in Europe, it is very lively, and innovation is key. We are trying at PostEurop also to benchmark, to organize. We have a market activity circle, we have operation activity circles where we can share views. We are going at the moment to share on electric vehicles, for instance, but also on database tomorrow. So you see, we try to remain connected, and we are happy also to share outside Europe, inside the UPU, where there are also places where we can benchmark, share these new activities.
Mr. Botond, how do you see e-commerce? How do you see artificial intelligence, robotics? Do you see them as threats or opportunities for the postal industry?
We have a growth opportunity here. While we face letter mail volume decrease, e-commerce is a growing market, and the postal operators are the key partners for the e-commerce industry. And in this regard, the technology aspects that can be mentioned, including robotics, have to be used by the postal operator. So they mustn't neglect this development to put aside, to close their eyes. No, to incorporate it in their daily business. And then, of course, they can always be at the forefront of the innovation, but building on this kind of relatively traditional, but also partially new line hauls and delivery value chains.
Madam, let me say one thing here. Robotics. What are we talking about robotics? Robots walking in the streets? I don't think that is what we're talking about. Mechanization.
Yeah.
We already have that. We've
Absolutely.
been having that long time.
Yes.
Go to any major post office in the world today. The speed at which things are sorted, the intelligence of parcel sorting systems that we have, we've been there a long time ago. So what is new is the drones things we hear about here. Okay, good. It's a new development, yes. So what does a drone do? A drone can pick a parcel and fly with it and deliver to a X point. We put the coordinates, it can fly there. Yes. So who owns the drone? You can buy it from the shop. I was in Dubai the other day and I was just walking the duty-free shop and I found drones there for $2,000. I could buy it and fly it. So it's just, it's simple. So now the question is, how then do you see 6 million parcels flying here today, and you need an air tower controller here to monitor the frequencies and control these things? Is it practical to deliver we have 60 billion parcels of the UPU, of the postal network? I think that is a little bit too dramatic in my view. What we can do, and what we are doing already, is that post offices have acquired some of these drones to deliver things in a very difficult areas where there are emergencies, or let's say blood is required somewhere and someone can pick an island.
Complimentary or
This is already happening. If you want to have a nice wedding on top of that mountain there and you want to impress your spouse, you can get pizza delivered to you on a drone. Post office can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's possible to do that. But really, the commercial drones to carry out all the parcels all over the place, zigzagging around here in town, I think that we may take a bit of time to see that. And of course, we have to have regulations on that. We have to make sure that things flying here don't fall on people's heads and anything can happen. We have all manners of things that really, where people are a bit imaginative. But really, do we have the technology? Yes, it is there. Drones carry parcels and packets, and even developing countries in remote Africa are using it. Rwanda, for example, is using drone technology to carry out bloods and everything to take it to remote places where doctors need. So I think we are there. We don't fear technology. We've always used technology, and we will be able to provide the services. All those things, there is service behind it.
Exactly.
Our interest is to see how we develop the service,
Exactly.
which uses this technology to deliver.
And I think, and as the DG said, I think the Post has always been adopters of technology and very early on. And the adoption of technology is not only just on the service delivery side of things, so it's about the customer experience. How do you use technology in order to make the customer experience valuable and something that brings them back to the Post repeatedly? But there's also a cost side of things, and that's about the mechanization, making operations more efficient, adoption of technology, mechanical engineering, in order to speed up and make the processing of mail items a lot faster. So there's two sides of things, service delivery and revenue generation, and then there's the cost side of things. And both you will see Post adopting, depending on how much resources and investments that they have, investing in both sides. Absolutely.
Mr. Botond, in just 1 minute, the key message for your members, especially for the next year when you are celebrating 25 years, what should be your message for the members you have now?
Yes, so it is all about cooperation. It is all about interconnectivity. It is all about developing our services. And we have the platform for that in Europe. that will get 25 years old next year, building on the traditions, of course, that date back beyond that. And of course, we will be always at the disposal of the members, because life is changing, technology is changing, market environment is changing, customer needs are changing, but in all times we will find the possibility to bring synergies into the life of our members through cooperation.
Thank you also very much, and I
Thank
really
you.
hope Bucharest will be for you an innovation hub. Yes?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Create new
Thank
things
you.
because we really want them on the market.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck
Thank
with
you very much.
everything.
Thank you.